Welcome back
to
Mind
over
Over Movies
V's and VHS and Laserdisc
and Blu-ray and beta tapes.
and
Today we're getting paid by the minute for this one, so you better buckle in, baby.
it's gonna be a long one.
Finally, Elon Musk, our first sponsor of the podcast, we're excited to announce. You know, he just became the richest man in the world, and he's looking for a good way to spend it. Let me tell you, our movie opinions, priceless.
Priceless. You're gonna want to
fact,
buy stock in our opinions.
They've got stature now. Casey, give me some of those salacious movie takes of yours.
So yeah, here's one, to start out with. Y'all guys know the movie The Thing, John Carpenter?
Oh, the remake? The 1982?
Oh no, not that one. I'm talking yeah, I am talking about that one. Sorry, I always forget it's a remake. But
Yeah.
did you know
And then there's a remake of that.
That's true. It was like the 2011 remake or something like that.
Yeah, which is actually a prequel.
Yeah. It's so
Now we're just confused.
yeah, no, I know. Anyway, I was just going to say that The Thing is actually communist propaganda. Just so you know.
Really?
No, I have no fucking idea. It's just not a real thing.
I was like, damn. About time someone made something.
No, I love The Thing. I love the 1982 The Thing. I actually just got around to watching it, actually not that long ago, just a few months ago, I think.
Really?
And I highly, highly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film. And now, his other film, They Live, is on my watch list because that's just
that one's
like
pretty iconic. I definitely don't like it as much as The Thing. Like, of John Carpenter, I prefer like more of the horror. Like, They Live is a pretty fun satire, though.
Right.
I don't know. I think the best aspects of it channel his other movies, and like the fight scene between him and Keith David, or is it David Keith? What? No, I think his name's Keith David. I always get the names
in The Thing.
mixed up. Yes, Keith David.
Yeah.
Their fight scene in that movie is awesome. Just like seeing a pro wrestler and someone like Keith David like throw down for like 10 minutes. That's just great.
Yeah. Have you seen his film Escape from New York?
Yes, I have with Kurt Russell.
Yes. Ugh. Dude, that film, it's so weird, but it's so, I don't know. It's like, it's so good to me. Like when I first started watching it, I was a little bit bored at the beginning, and I was like, this is like so stupid. But like after finishing the film, I was like, that was actually kind of awesome, and I can see how people like it. And it's an interesting film to watch.
It reminds me of like the older Mad Max movies where like they're not really concerned about like tying it into anything, and they just do like an apocalypse story. But I think I prefer Escape from New York over like the older Mad Max movies. Like I think I just think that's more interesting that they're in that like city and like the hierarchy there than like, desert wasteland with cars. I mean, obviously Fury Road since then has probably really stepped up that franchise, but like I think Escape from New York is one of my favorite just like pure sci-fi apocalypse movies. It's just awesome.
It's a romp, dude, and the politics in it is so funny. And Escape from LA, I hear, is even like more like
I've heard it's not as good. That's the main thing I've heard.
Definitely not. But like in Escape from LA, it's like the president is like views that this earthquake is a sign from above, and so he makes like his own like colony where he like basically punishes people for immoral crimes based on super extremist evangelist views.
Not like topical at all.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, he was. I get the feeling that John Carpenter was a staunch Democrat. Maybe just a little bit perception, maybe.
Yeah, is he still alive? Like, I actually do not know if John Carpenter is still kicking.
I actually don't know either. I think he died.
Oh, dude, no, he's going.
Oh, he is? Oh, I was thinking of Romero. Romero died.
Yeah, Romero died. Wes Craven died. I mean, John Carpenter's old.
Oh, definitely.
Like, he's still kicking. It seems. I don't know that he's made anything recently though.
Oh no.
I feel like he's been done for a while.
I feel like was his last movie In the Mouth of Madness? It was 1994.
No, I think he did one about Mars. Oh yeah, he did a movie in 2001 called The Ghosts of Mars.
Ghost of Mars. It was like a
box office and critical failure, and he kind of went into retirement after that, or like semi-retirement, and now he's just like doing music and producing movies. Like he's produced all of the Halloween remakes,
right?
And he actually did the music for the new remake, like the newest one. It seems like.
Really?
Yeah, he's focusing in on his music, and
he's credited as a composer for 25 films on Letterboxd, mostly all his films too.
He's good too. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I totally think he can pursue that because I mean he's proven himself to be a very competent like film score guy. Like,
right.
I think Inicio Morricone deserves all the praise for like movies like The Thing, because I mean he just has two notes in that movie and he makes it like very ominous. But like John Carpenter, I believe, did the Halloween theme song, which is now like one of the most iconic pieces of music ever. Like, yeah, he did all of the music for the original Halloween.
Yeah, he did the music for the newest one, and he's doing the music for the I didn't know this, but Blumhouse has their Halloween trilogy basically already mapped out, with the next one being Halloween Kills and then the third one being called Halloween Ends. I'm really excited to see how this trilogy goes.
Oh, I gotta see the first one still.
Bro, the first one is good. Like, it's not. I don't think it's super bad at all. It's super reminiscent of the very first Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis. But it's a lot more violent, than the
they've modernized it to our standards. Like, because that's the thing. If you go back and watch like the original Halloween in the 70s, like it feels pretty tame by today's standards. But you gotta realize like, oh, this was pretty edgy back then.
Definitely.
I watched a movie that I felt like kind of bordered on like edgy, but was mostly just like satire this week. Have you seen Greener Grass?
I have not. What is that about?
Ooh, so this is a movie that came out in 2019. It's got one of my favorite SNL cast members, Beck Bennett, in it, and Darcy Carden from like The Good Place and stuff. And it's essentially just this like 80s style comedy about like suburban life, but it reminds me more of like absurdist theater, and like like really biting satire of like the 70s or 80s. Like, I haven't seen something that's like been as aggressive towards like white suburban life in a really long time. Like, it's funny, and like things happen that don't make sense. Like the couples like have a husband swap at one point at the beginning of the movie. The film starts with like the main character giving her baby away to her neighbor. She says, like, "Do you want my baby?" And she's like, "Yeah, I've always thought your baby's kind of sick." And she's like, "Well, here, you can have it." And she just gives her baby to her neighbor right at the start of the movie. And that sets the bar. Yeah, it's just like not a lot of it makes sense literally, but I think it's like one of those movies where on deeper analysis, like you can see it. It's about something else. Like, and I really wish there were more YouTube channels that did just pure theme analysis than like, what the H did that ending mean for like
right
Midsummer 2019? What the heck? What did that mean?
We're going to explain it. We're going to break it all down today and explain it in excruciating detail and probably go over the plot about 3 times before we tell you what we think the ending is, even though you already know what the ending means because it's really, really simple.
Well, I don't know when like channels like that became about like summarizing what happened in a movie rather than like analyzing, but it's been a thing for a while. I think that's got to be like my least favorite style of film review on YouTube is when like someone just watches a movie and shows clips from it and then like makes really lame jokes throughout it. Like just review like the themes or like give your opinion on the movie. Yeah. I don't want to be
the actual filmmaking.
Like if I wanted to hear what happened in the story, I would just watch the movie and I would see what happens in the story. I don't need you to explain it to me. Unless like it was really confusing, but most of these movies that these explain channels cover, I feel like are just your typical movie. Like Star Wars, for some reason, gets a lot of that 2019 Rise of Skywalker scene explained, and it's just like it's something the audience knew. Like,
right?
Oh, Rey's hearing the voice of all the Jedi. Like, you didn't bring any insight to that. You just told me what I already knew.
Who are those voices at the end of Rise of Skywalker?
Believe it or not, that was Yoda, the one that sounds like...
Remember the little green alien guy? Yeah, that's Yoda.
He was even in... This might be a cheeky reference to The Last Jedi, where Yoda appears. Which is an Easter egg to the original trilogy. Yoda is a character.
And when you know when they bring up The Last Jedi, they have to go over the whole plot of The Last Jedi before they go into like what they were talking about with Yoda or whatever. And then they have to mention Rian Johnson and then the video's boring and art is dead. So the art of film criticism at least.
Indeed. But yeah, I feel like this movie would definitely not see serious analysis on YouTube, and I also feel like this could be a very divisive movie, Greener Grass. Like, I can see how someone might go into it and it's not really their cup of tea, but like, it's on Hulu for free. I believe it is available to rent on Amazon and Google Play. So like. I would definitely recommend checking it out, especially if you have a Hulu account. Like, it's very short, just an hour and 20 minutes.
Nice.
And it's got a lot to unpack there. So yeah,
cool.
That's my recommendation for the week.
I'll definitely check it out. I have a quick recommendation before we get into the meat of today's topic.
Ooh, yes.
I know we mentioned last week, or maybe it was the week before, I was going to watch the Before Sunrise trilogy by Richard Linklater.
Yeah.
And I pretty much did. I watched the first 2, and I gotta say, such an interesting concept for, a trilogy of films. That works well. It pays off. I loved the first 2 movies, Before Sunrise and Before Sunset. I haven't got around to watching Before Midnight yet. I have to rent it from YouTube. And currently, your boy broke, so waiting on that paycheck. But yeah, it's they're really good. Like, the dialogue, I thought that they were improvising it at first. And I haven't looked into much of the production of these films yet, but they very well could have been improvising their conversations, especially in the first train sequence in Before Sunrise, the first movie, because it feels so organic. It's like reminiscent of like mumblecore films, but the dialogue, it gets brought up like later, like within the story, like stories that I remember. For example, there's a story in the first train sequence in the first film that Ethan Hawke is telling to this girl, and it feels so like on the spot, like he's really just like trying to flirt with this girl. But then that story gets brought up like later, in the film, in their dialogue, and I'm like, was it improv or is this just really good direction? Because this feels so natural and it feels so, just organic. And the characters are likable. They both have flaws. And in the second movie, it's 9 years later. So like they've changed as people. And so like they have different flaws and different philosophies about life than when we seen them last. And it feels so, real. And it's so interesting. I love these movies. This is like one of the best like romance stories ever told, in my opinion, so far. I mean, I hope the third one really ties it up, but from what I can tell based on the reviews, it's just as good as the other two. So yeah, I'm really excited to watch the last one. I really enjoyed the first two. I watched them both in one night. I was just gonna watch one, but then I had to know like what the next movie, because the first one ends on such a cliffhanger note. So I was like, I got to go to the next movie, and it's like 9 years later, and it's so good, and yeah, I just watched them both in one night. Stayed up to like 5:30 in the morning watching them before I finally went to sleep. But
dude, irresponsible.
I know. I got to quit doing that.
Dingus.
I know. I got one semester of school left. I need to start going to sleep.
I'm very curious about that trilogy. Like I definitely expressed my interest in it last week, and I still haven't seen the first movie, but I'm getting around to it. I just really like the idea that Richard Linklater is, like that he's playing with time so much in this trilogy, and like he really seems to enjoy telling a story over like many years, and it just feels so epic in that sense that like those movies span like 20 years, I think, like from 1995 to like 2015, right? Or
right, yeah,
something like that. Yeah, like I think that's so awesome that you get to see those actors grow up and those characters grow up too. Like it just sounds like a really intriguing concept, and I think I'm gonna jump on board soon.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's super cool. I love them. I think the idea is just brilliant. Like, taking the same actors every 9 years, making a movie that's like the same storyline, and it being, like a love story. It's crazy good. He handles it with like a delicacy that is just astounding, because it could be just it sounds very gimmicky, but he does it with taste, and it's I love them. I can't recommend them enough. If you haven't seen the Before trilogy, go check it out. It's really good. So,
dude, I definitely have been meaning to get around to it, but what I did start doing this week instead of watching Before trilogy is I started a rewatch of the original Star Wars trilogy.
Heck yeah.
Kennedy had never watched any Star Wars movies before, so it was like, let's get on this. I mean, and that's like every white guy's thing is like, oh, you haven't seen Star Wars?
True.
But it was like I was approached about a desire to see Star Wars, okay? And I fueled that instinct, and I was like, let's sit down and watch it. This is my first time watching Star Wars, this original trilogy, not on my VHS tapes that I have at home. So it's been real surreal so far. watching New Hope and having those digitally added scenes in there, because I never realized how distracting they were. Like, there's this shot where they're driving into Mos Eisley, and George Lucas, for some reason, has inserted like a giant green CGI creature in front of the shot.
Yep.
And it just walks by like painfully slow. And you're like, why? Why did you put that in there? Like, did you just not like how that shot looked? Or it looks infinitely worse now.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stupid, CGI crap thrown into the special editions and whatnot. And I have never seen the original edits without all that crap in them, because I cannot find them anywhere.
Yeah, they only exist on VHS anymore. Like, if you watch them on Disney Plus, they're gonna be the digital edits. If you buy it on Blu-ray, it's gonna be the digital edits. Depending on when you bought it on DVD, it's either gonna be really terrible CG or slightly less terrible CG. And then, I think the last release of the original Star Wars movies was like 1997, like, or maybe a little bit earlier, and those are untouched. And that's what I grew up with, is this little VHS collection. So I was very surprised as I got older to learn, like, oh, Hayden Christensen has been digitally inserted. There's a scene with Jabba the Hutt in New Hope now. Like, they have episode names. Well, okay, my VHS tapes had episode names like A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and, like, numbers. But like back in the day, it was just called Star Wars, and then it was just called Empire Strikes Back, and then it was just called Return of the Jedi. It wasn't 4, 5, and 6. It's always very weird explaining that to someone who's new to Star Wars. Like, yes, we're watching episode 4 right now, but no, we don't need to go and watch episode 1, because this is the order in which they were made, and so they could be viewed in this order. And in fact, this is the preferred viewing order of many people. Like, it's just so fucking complicated these days.
Yeah. For anybody that's never watched Star Wars, from go at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9, I guess, if you want to add those, but watching them, in chronological order is kind of weird. There's so many inconsistencies and plot holes with how the prequel trilogy was made. But it's such an experience watching that, how do I say this? I don't know. Watching it in that chronological order in the way that George Lucas kind of intended the story to flow. But I would say to anybody new to Star Wars, always show them 4, 5, 6 first, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 7, 8, 9. Or just don't show them 7, 8, or 9.
I would argue, like, you don't even have to show them the prequels if you don't want to. A lot of people are saying, like, they watch Rogue One with A New Hope now. Like, they like to double feature that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. I've done that.
I don't care for Rogue One. I think that it is a cool idea to have, like, the last 30 minutes of Rogue One lead into A New Hope, but even then it makes a weird watching experience. You see all these modern effects and, like, this coked out, like, Darth Vader, and then you turn on A New Hope and he's, like, chill, like, just walking around and shit. And, like, he lightsaber fights Obi-Wan, and it's just, like, awkward standing.
Right.
You go from that hallway scene to that, like, not, I don't know, that just doesn't sound like a very consistent viewing experience for me.
The prequels in the original trilogy are definitely not consistent at all with well, I can point to, like, the most obvious thing that really, like, throws me off. The original trilogy has this certain aesthetic to it, like almost like a Western. The technology is super, I would say almost steampunk, not really steampunk, but it's not, it's, it's like very rustic technology. Whereas in the prequel trilogy, it's very high tech and more modern looking. And for example, people always point to, Coruscant, the city of Coruscant, being so, unnatural to what we saw in the original trilogy. The original trilogy, all the planets we visit, with the exception of Cloud City, but even Cloud City, they feel so, almost barren, a little, they always have that Western kind of, lonely aesthetic to them, and it's very prehistoric almost. And I think that works better because, the opening crawl, a very long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I feel like it fits the tone better. And then we jump into the prequels, and there's like fucking like energy ball cannons in the city of Coruscant looking like, New York City 300 years in the future. It's so inconsistent.
It's just like the world is like filled with a bunch of stuff. Like every world is like super overpopulated. It's like, how did this even become the world of the original trilogy, where you go to a planet and most of the time it's just so big that you don't encounter most other life on it. Like if you go to Hoth, there's like that one rebel base, and then just a bunch of open snow. And then if you go to Tatooine, there's like the Mos Eisley spaceport and like a few like Tusken Raiders out in the desert, and then it's just like barren. Like, like how do you go from that to like 20 years earlier? Apparently there was just like a city planet where the city was so big that you can't even see the bottom, and like it just doesn't look like Star Wars. And I mean, people have a very valid point that at least George Lucas was like keeping creativity, and like the prequel trilogy feels very distinct from the original trilogy. It has its own identity because of that. And like each world is very unique, and I respect that about George Lucas's filmmaking, is that like he does create unique worlds, and they've all got their own things, and they're very interesting to explore. Like I think Coruscant as an idea is very interesting. I think Naboo with like the Gungan like ocean world, and like the Naboo citizens on the surface is pretty interesting. It's underdeveloped, but like it's very visually interesting to like look at. And that's something I would say that the sequel trilogy lost, is like the idea of like newer places. Like there's a few planets that are just desert planets in the sequel trilogy, like to the point that they have one called Jakku, which is supposed to be a Tatooine stand-in, and then they like eventually are like, oh, we should have just had it be Tatooine the whole time, and they go back to Tatooine. Literally. It's like, what happened to originality? It makes you miss it a little bit.
Yeah. I agree. Before we go further, I feel like we should point out to the listeners that if things sound different, it's because we're recording from home separately.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there. I'm not really sure if it won't make really a difference to the viewers. The mic quality will definitely be better.
It should improve now, because we've each got our own mic that we're talking into.
Right.
But yeah, these are just these are scary times. There's a coronavirus variant out there now, and I mean, with the vaccine going around, people are going to start getting the false notion that maybe they can't spread it anymore. But I would like to just inform anyone who's maybe getting vaccinated that you still can carry the virus and spread it to others. You yourself won't get sick, so I think it's important to like really double down on our social distancing and our mask wearing. And I think that Casey and I have agreed that recording remotely is probably the safest option for us, because another stipulation is you don't want to talk to someone without a mask for like more than 15 minutes. Even if you're not feeling symptoms, like that's still not recommended. And I mean, to be honest, like I do miss the presence that we have when we share the same room, but like I don't feel like anything is really lost, No. Discussion wise, like we can still have these discussions safely, and I think that's a big thing, is that we can still do a lot of the things we want to do. social distance. Like, don't let social distancing and being safe like stop you from, being with your people and like talking to them. Like, there's always a way.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. We just thought this would be the best decision, at least for right now. Hopefully in the future, when it gets better, we can. I would like to get back to face, conversations.
Me too, man.
Yeah, it's something different, about actually being there with the person and talking. That's nice, but there's not a whole lot lost here. I enjoy this right now. We're having the same discussion, that we would be having if we were, sitting next to each other. But, hopefully that I'm an optimist, so hopefully the world gets better. But
I think we're headed there. I mean,
yeah,
it's scary right now. I mean, breaking away from film, like, recent events have definitely shaken a lot of people up. I think it's fair to admit that even probably a lot of Trump supporters are feeling a little bit scared and confused about like where we're going, like whether whether they've been lied to or not. And I think that this is an important time to really assess like where we're at in our nation and how everything that's going on makes us feel, because like truly, if you don't feel great about it, I think that this is a great time to advocate for the change you want. With Joe Biden stepping into office here in a couple weeks, like a lot of people are upset, a lot of people are angry, and then of course a lot of people are thinking like, oh, maybe this isn't enough of a change. And I think that if people want something to go their way, if they want change to happen in the world, they've got to put it out there. So I think that like let this period of time be a chance for you to reflect on like where you want this country to go, and like how everything happening makes you feel, and like assess your beliefs. Like I think this is the perfect time to just step back and analyze everything going on, and I mean, hopefully come to the conclusion that we need to come together and make some change happen, because, God, it's scary right now. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. I've recently, I started, I subscribed to the AP, the alternative press.
Because, I thought it was the Associated.
Yeah, you're right. Associated Press. Sorry, not alternative press. But because I did some research on what the most like unbiased like news sources are, ones that don't have put opinion pieces in there, because I think now more than ever, it's really important to get just the facts and kind of, base what you've read and form your own opinions rather than watching a right-leaning or a left-leaning news source and have them have these opinion pieces or these theories basically, and tote them as like fact that so many people get wrong. And so I did my research, and the AP is a pretty good platform that you just get, whatever the fact is, you get the news story and it's just the facts. It's literally just what they found out and, nothing else. So that's what I've been kind of focusing on, is just getting the news. I don't like watching any bias, sort of like left-leaning or right-leaning news sources. Yeah. And I think that's important for everyone to do as well, honestly. Not telling you how to live your life, but, I think it's important.
And I think that one of the biggest things right now is it's very easy to dismiss facts as bias these days. Like a lot of... and I mean, hey, this is warranted because it is mostly Trump supporters saying this, but like a lot of people will go like fake news if the facts often don't agree with them. And I think that it's time that we start assessing reality a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I think that this virus was a big point for me where I was like, I'm kind of sick of people denying what a straight up fact is. Like, we can only take this fake news climate for so long before we have to just accept that not everything can be fake. Like something has to be real. Like, these Trump supporters that stormed the Capitol, people are already starting conspiracy theories that this is Antifa dressing up as Trump supporters and taking the Capitol because people just simply can't get their heads around the idea that the president incited violence at the Capitol. And the fact of the matter is, any unbiased source will show you simply what happened. Trump gave a speech and was like, hey, let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. And the supporters from that rally and many others stormed the Capitol and took it over. Like, that is the simple fact of the matter. Like, any clips you watch without commentary will show you that. And yet, even with all that out there, there's so much denial happening. Like, even in our own government, like, several representatives still voted to overturn the election results. And I just simply have no patience for that,
Yeah.
Get a hold of yourself. Get into reality. Listen to NPR. Like, truly, any news outlet that just happens to say facts that disagree with what your perceived reality is, that's on you. That's not on NPR. They're not left leaning or anything. They're saying the facts. The Associated Press is saying the facts, and these are reputable news sources for a reason because they've always stated the facts. And they haven't introduced bias into it. That's why when, the Associated Press calls an election, like, that's seen as a pretty official standard of how that election is actually going. Like,
yeah. And they always have sources for everything. So, if you're ever unsure about something, they always say, we got this information from the top of this, like straight from the FBI director, straight from, Congress, straight from this, straight from that. Eyewitness accounts and everything. It's, it's all based in fact, and they can back it up with sources.
I would say that's like the number one thing that I feel like people should really investigate more. It's a habit we should form in school, obviously, but checking our sources. I think that's a lost art, and I'm guilty of this too. Like, I'll read a headline and I won't click on the article, and I'll walk away with that headline. And the situation is often a bit more nuanced than that, or, the sources in the article actually aren't all that great. And I get it. Yeah, like, we live in a clickbait, like, headline time where, everything's so attention grabbing. We don't maybe always have time to, like, dive further into what is actually going on. But I think it's something that we should be more vigilant about, is checking what we're sharing, because this is how misinformation, which is an enemy to everyone, by the way, like, misinformation helps no one on either side.
No.
This is just a big way in how it's spread, is just people sharing things blindly. And I think I've done it before, probably, and I'm working on being as accurate as I can, because we can't have that anymore. We really have such a rampant problem with people hearing all kinds of conspiracy theories and mistaking it for fact that we need to really crack down on what we're sharing these days.
Yeah. While conspiracy theories can be fun to talk about and to kind of, chew over. I'm guilty of, like, talking about conspiracy theories, like, all the time. Some of them are really interesting. But at the same time, it's a conspiracy theory, and some of them are not based in any factual evidence, like, whatsoever. And that's really dangerous to be being touted on the news all the time. It's super dangerous for everybody. So, well, yeah, that's our quick spiel.
Yeah. We try and keep it mainly movies, but
yeah,
the world around us is turning, And I'd rather history look back and see that we weren't ignorant to what was happening around us,
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking that, instead of doing our big Star Wars media episode today, we could talk about some recent developments like The Mandalorian season 2 wrapping up and this High Republic that is coming out. I just want to say Mando season 2, pretty good. I liked it a lot more than season 1 anyway. I think that I am alone in thinking that the last episode was a bit of a letdown. But I'm still a fan
you're not
of the
entirely
show.
alone. You're not entirely alone. I kind of agree with you.
I'm still a fan of the show, and I'll definitely be watching season 3.
Yeah.
But I don't know, dude. It's just I don't know what the stakes of The Mandalorian are anymore. And I mean, something that's been up with the show for a while is all the characters are invincible. The Mandalorian, the in-universe explanation is he's got Beskar armor, which apparently can just deflect all kinds of blades and
it's the lasers. Star Wars equivalent of vibranium in the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
it's but indestructible.
Whereas the Marvel universe will allow its main character to get a beat down every once in a while. Captain America gets his ass handed to him every now and then. I feel like the Mandalorian faces actual threats very far and few. There's one part of the finale where I think the Mandalorian isn't any actual danger. And then everything else is a Deus Ex Machina, or he's just he's too invincible. And so are the side characters. I think that's a big thing that annoys me about Mandalorian is half its side characters are getting spin-offs. There's going to be a Cara Dune spin-off. Boba Fett is confirmed to have a spin-off coming out next year. What's the
Boba Fett?
The Book of Boba Fett? What are we invested in the current season that we're watching? If everything is going to for sure be continued for these characters and no one ever faces any risks or receives any injury, what do we have to look forward to? Just more invincibility. It's essentially just extended fan service in an episode, I feel at that point.
Right. And that's, I think the first season of Mandalorian, its finale, does a way better job of the stakes and what's at risk. And Mando gets a pretty hard beat down, and so do the side characters in season 1.
It feels hard fought too. They kill. Sorry, spoilers now for Mandalorian season 1 and
spoilers.
2.
Spoiler. You've been warned. Okay, go ahead.
You've been warned. But at the end of Mando season 1, Moff Gideon tracks them down. He kills the guy who says the thing. What does he say? It's oh, this is the way, or no. What does he say? It is spoken.
Oh.
What does he say?
I have no idea.
Let me see. It's that random alien guy. I have spoken. That's what it says.
Yeah.
They kill that guy, and he was a beloved side character throughout the whole season, but I really respected oh my god, the stakes are real. People you care about could die. Giancarlo Esposito as Moff Gideon is really scary. He's just intimidating as hell. And that's the thing is they have to fight really hard to win in that situation, and what I feel went wrong in Mando season 2 is they don't have to work at all that season. Like, they raid like 4 different stormtrooper bases and ships throughout the season. It's easy.
With no consequences, hardly, you know?
Yeah, it's easy every single time. I think the only time that the characters show any effort in what they're doing is in that second to last episode with Bill Burr. And, like, he's got to fight, like, space pirates. And he doesn't have his Beskar armor anymore. He's got, like, that Stormtrooper armor that's falling apart. And that is what I would have liked to have seen more of throughout the season is, like...
Yeah.
You know, like, danger. Prevalent danger, like, in a scene.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite episodes, too, actually. The penultimate episode to the season.
Yeah, I really liked that one.
Yeah, there was a real danger in that episode for our characters the entire time, and not to mention the dialogue between what's his name? I forget his name.
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr's character. Yeah.
I don't remember his Star Wars name.
I don't either. Star Wars names are hard to remember, but his character and that dialogue with the Imperial officer, you know. The Mandalorian has done a really good job of bringing a nuance to the Imperial like army, basically.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, and something that I think the original that the movies are missing is that nuance and that complicated ideology of the Empire, and it just really adds some weight to it, and that's why I love that episode so much. It's it feels to me, the Empire feels like, at least in the Mandalorian, feels like remnants of like the Nazi regime. Sorry. Which I mean, if you know me, I love like studying about World War II, love learning about Hitler and the Nazis and everything like that. And so like they are very obviously drawing comparisons, from the Empire to Hitler's, army and his following and everything. And there's a lot of like sentiments that are shared across, that against Nazis and, Imperials, especially Bill Burr's character, regretting, being in that and trying to atone for his sins in that episode, which it totally adds just another layer of depth to his character that I didn't really get when he was in that first episode in the first season. Even though I liked that episode and I liked his character then, this just builds on it even more. And I hope we see him in season 3, to be honest with you, because I want to see his character develop even further. But yeah, I mean, I like Mandalorian season 2. I thought it was a pretty solid season.
Yeah, I mean, like in the end, I like it more than season 1.
Yeah.
I was definitely disappointed with what it built up to, but I thought like the individual stories in this episode were a lot better. Like the first episode felt like such a classic Western movie, and the one with Ahsoka was just really well done. Like I'm not sure how I feel about the overarching story in Mandalorian, but I've got to say, like, from an individual, like, storytelling, like, episodic storytelling perspective, I think that Mandalorian is really solid and definitely higher up there in current Star Wars media. Like, it's probably the best thing we've got going on for Star Wars right now.
Definitely.
Without a
because
doubt.
it feels the most Star Wars, because Star Wars, when it was, when George Lucas first like made it, with the original trilogy, it's a space western, like a epic space western, and Mandalorian feels more like a western than anything. It has especially the first episode of season 2 is the most western it's ever gotten, and the most like Star Warsy, I think, and which I love because I love westerns, and it's got it written all over it. The Mandalorian does, the lone bounty hunter, like he's a bounty hunter, and he works alone. He's like, he has that revolver kind of laser pistol, like it's, and just like the themes as well. It's sort of like, he's almost like the man with no name, I mean, they call him. We don't really. I mean, I guess we know his real name, but like when we first meet him, he's just the Mandalorian or Mando. It's kind of like Clint Eastwood's character of a Preacher in Pale Rider. You don't know his name. He's just called Preacher. Same thing with the Dollars trilogy. He's just the man with no name. He's the What do they call him?
Or Blondie in the third one.
Blondie, exactly. It's the mythology is super cool to see. I think Mandalorian is the most reminiscent of original Star Wars, and I love that. And I hope season 3 continues that, because they got 2 pretty solid seasons out right now.
Yeah, I would love to see it maintain that level of quality and maybe the overarching story. Get more stakes in there.
Yeah,
that'd be exquisite.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Well, we talked about the Mandalorian, but I wanna pick your brain a little bit because I've never seen this particular piece of Star Wars media, but the Clone Wars. Have you watched the Clone Wars, the show?
So I haven't watched the 3D animated one all that much.
Okay.
I did watch like the original one on Cartoon Network, like that Gendy Tartakovsky did, the guy behind Samurai Jack, and that show is metal as hell. That one's awesome. It's like the only bit of Star Wars media where General Grievous isn't like an asthmatic wuss. That's like the best way I can explain that. Like he's just so threatening and menacing, and it ties into Revenge of the Sith, which was very cool. I hear that this new 3D series also ends up tying into Revenge of the Sith in its final season. But man, back in like 2003, 2004, like whenever the finale of Clone Wars came on, and like Chancellor Palpatine got kidnapped, and it was like, oh my god, this is gonna be a plot point in Revenge of the Sith. That was like really amazing to watch. I remember that feeling like a big moment. And that whole 2D animated series is on YouTube, and it's been edited into like a 2-hour movie. I think it holds up remarkably well. I would recommend people go watch that.
I'm gonna have to check it out because like in the 3D animated Clone Wars, there's so much content.
There's like 100 episodes at least.
Yeah, and I'm not a big like TV show binge watcher, really. You know, like I binged Barry. I think I've talked about this before about my binging habits, but you know, I don't know. I might, just because I know that everybody was saying like the last season that they recently came out with to tie it all up was super good. Is what I've heard.
I've heard kind of mixed things, that it was like half of it was good and then half of it was like filler. And that's the thing is I hate like cartoon filler. Yeah. You know, like I think that's a number one reason why I don't watch like more like cartoon shows, is that so much of it is like bad and or just like it has nothing to do with anything else. It's just like pointless filler. And yeah, I would definitely like to see the show, but just that holds me back from it is all of it. So I think like I would go in with one of those watch guides that's like skip around through these episodes.
You know, my cousin, when he got into Doctor Who, he did that with Doctor Who. Somebody went through and compiled a list of all the important episodes that you could watch that are important to the main story, and then just the filler episodes. And I remember being so just kind of weirded out by that, because I'm sure you can do that with the Clone Wars, because I know the Clone Wars, I've heard they've got some like just straight up like filler, like it deviates completely from the main story and goes somewhere else. But I felt like with a show like Doctor Who, there are some episodes that may seem like a random adventure, and then later the importance of a character or a plot point in the episode comes back in like the next season, and it has huge ramifications for, you know, what happens next. And so people who just watch, quote unquote essential episodes would be at a disadvantage because they wouldn't know what the heck is going on. And Doctor Who is so complicated and convoluted as it is,
I mean, here's my hot take on that. I think Doctor Who is very episodic, and there's like mostly in this newer era of Doctor Who, like Stephen Moffat's like Matt Smith era and like Peter Capaldi, like you probably have to watch more episodes to understand fully what's going on. But like I would say especially earlier Doctor Who, it's just individual episodes, and a lot of them are just really silly and cheesy. And like I think that skip guides account for that. Like I do that with Star Trek. I use a skip guide for Star Trek shows because so many of the episodes are just like pointless or boring or just bad. Like half of Star Trek is like that. So it's nice to have like a episode guide that'll be like, oh, you can watch this for continuity. So because it comes up later, these episodes are skippable, but they're pretty good if you want to watch them. These episodes are just straight up trash. Skip them. Like I like having that because I have a hard time with longer shows like that. Like Star Trek seasons are always like 26 episodes, and like I know that like almost half of those episodes are gonna be usually pretty bad, other than like Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which has like some of the finest writers ever. Anyway, watch Star Trek.
I guess I just have an inclination to be like, well, I guess it's really just with Doctor Who, I guess. I don't know, because I love Doctor Who, even though it can get super campy and cheesy, and some of the episodes are really silly. And I need to catch up, honestly, because I haven't caught up with the new Doctor, but I feel Doctor Who's a special show where I think I'm going to say almost every, there are a couple of episodes in there that are pretty heinous.
Yeah.
But I feel for the most part, Doctor Who's a pretty special show, and it's entertaining enough to where each episode is going to be pretty entertaining and memorable. Like I mean, I can think of so many episodes that I love, and that I would go back and watch like right now. But yeah, well,
that was some sci-fi spiel. This has been kind of like an episode like last week's where we
just kind of ramble
again.
Yeah, I mean it's different. We're just trying to find our footing with this whole recording, separately thing. So, if you liked, last week's episode with the rambling, sort of kind of, less cohesive, talking about a little bit of this, a little bit of that kind of style, then you'll probably like this episode. And if you don't like that, then don't worry. Next week's episode is going to be back to a main point of focus, a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit of a. It's gonna be a banger next week. I'm actually really excited for the topic next week. So
we've got a good one picked out. So definitely stay tuned, man.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
But let us know how you like the remote setup. These episodes, we definitely read everything you guys send, and we try and be people pleasers. Okay, we like pleasing the peoples.
We like listening to the fans. So yeah, we do appreciate the continued support and all of it, and hopefully everybody will stick with us. There's not been one time yet where I have not wanted to record or not wanted to do this podcast. This is like my favorite part of. I look forward to this every week, honestly.
Me too, man. Me fucking too.
It's so fun.
I love this. I love that we do this, and hopefully you guys like it too, because we're gonna keep doing it anyway, even if you don't.
Yeah. Before we go though, I would really like to stress to our viewers, please give us some topics that you would want to hear us talk about, or that you would like to engage with us with after listening to an episode of, because we don't want to. I don't know. I feel like I just really want to hear feedback from our viewers and listeners, and if there's anything y'all are interested in hearing, then we would definitely talk about it.
I mean, we're only two minds. We could only think of
exactly
2 ideas, like
yeah. We've only had 2 ideas every week.
We need at least one more.
Yeah, but no. Yeah. So let us know. And as always, keep the spirit alive.
It's Christmas time.
What?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.